be tired of seeing me over the next 4 years for our freshman parents and happy to see me go bye-bye for all of our senior parents. Just kidding. I would like to welcome Miss Alex Walton. She is at one of our sister schools in Berkeley at St. Mary College High School. She is their Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and she's also a sports psychologist, and she does assistance with their sports program and also on the side in her private world. So without further ado, Miss Alex.
I should have requested some walk-up music. Don't y'all like walk-up music? I don't know. Okay, that meant too much. Okay, well, you got a little bit of my music taste earlier. Like, those are some of my favorites. But let's get started. So I'm a parent also, so I always like to know what is about to happen. So we're going to do some introductions and a check-in. We're going to talk about how do we support our student athletes, how do we find support for ourselves, how do we support our spouses or our partners, how do we partner with the CB athletic department and our coaches, and then we're going to practice. So that's me in action. I talk with my hands quite a bit, and I didn't realize that until someone took these pictures of me. Obviously, I have a very favorite color because I'm wearing the same color. I am the Director of Inclusion and Belonging at St. Mary's College High School. I also teach African history. I used to teach a diversity class, but I'm not doing that this year because I have to build out a service program that has to do with diversity and programming. My background, I attended UCLA. Go Bruins. Any Trojans in the house? Oh. It's a really good school, so I still love you. Plus my son wants to go there for grad school, but that's a whole other conversation. I got my undergrad in history, focusing on African American studies and African studies. Then I got married, had kids. I actually have 3 children, which I'll talk about a little bit later, 3 boys. Then I decided to go get my master's in sports psychology. I worked with a couple of basketball teams. I've worked with some minor league players, rock climbers, ice skaters, football players, golfers. My husband's a golfer, and I will not work with him, but I do work with other folks. And now I am at St. Mary's College getting my doctorate in educational leadership. I, for some reason, like to be in school a lot. That's what I'm doing. All right, so this is the first thing that we're gonna do. So this theater is already in 3 sections. So I want you to eagles over here, giraffes here, and lions here. Which animal do you most identify with? Yeah, go, you gotta go.
I love how some of y'all are assuming you're an eagle now because you're right. I'm an eagle all this time.
If you're at the top, feel free to come on down, be with your fellow CB athletic parents. Do you know my principal gives money to the kids that sit in the front, like on orientation, and then they expect it like every time afterwards? I don't do that, but... Okay, are we good? Now, I want you to turn to somebody and tell them why you chose that animal. And notice if you're here with your partner, if they went to the same animal. Who would like to say why you chose that?
Roar.
just bored. Why'd you choose that? I need to be like, the Jerry Springer show. Hold on. I don't watch that.
I believe we were raised that way, to be dominant, to be outspoken, to know what you want, how to go after it, is a lion.
Cute.
My question is, why do you have to choose just one of them?
There's only one. Is to get inside my head. Very good. Very good. I made you. Or actually, I just said pick one, but good. Okay, any other lions? You still stand firm in your lion. Yep, that's how lions are. What about my gracious giraffes? No one's gonna say anything. Giraffes? Oh, wait, we got one.
Well, I just don't feel like a predator today. I feel more relaxed and, wanting to know what's going on, but a little frightened.
You didn't want to get up and move.
Today. Ooh, he said you didn't want to get up and move. This is your same seat. Is that part of it? Oh, good. Okay.
No, I was going to speak for the group. No, the only is giraffe. They're different. Giraffes are different. They're a unique animal, and that's how we feel about each other.
Beautiful. Okay. And I don't have an E, alliteration. Excellent eagles. Okay, here we go. You liked that, huh? Cool. Eagles?
Freedom.
Okay. Well, I like it. Okay.
It's kind of removed above, scope out the scene below, and then make a decision.
And pounce. All right. Any other eagles? They just all agree. Notice who's an eagle. Okay, so I want you to think about this. Like, do you navigate your day that way? Do you make decisions this way? So speaking of that lion comment, I have twins that are 20, and I'll talk about them shortly, and I have a soon-to-be 15-year-old, 3 boys. My house is very busy, lots of broken bones we've had, and all of that. Like, I don't like to fall in stereotypes, but my house is a stereotypical boy house. Like I go to the doctor, they're like record thick. So my son comes home one day, the one that runs track, and he was just like a crier. He cried about everything. And we still tease him to this day. And some girl kept poking him, and he came home, and he was crying, and my husband was hot. So he puts on a video of a lion attacking his prey. And he says, do you want to be the prey or do you want to be the lion? I was mortified. Jordan shares this at his retreat at the high school I teach at. Oh God, nobody get upset with me or my husband. But he was like, my husband was raised to be a lion, to be dominant, to stand up and get what you want or be pushed around. And I think about where he was raised. He was raised in Watts, California. His mom put him in church, Bible school, baseball, all these things so he wouldn't be in the streets. He is now an attorney. He takes very much pride in what he does, but he remembers walking through gang-infested parks, and they would leave him alone because they were like, he's gonna be something, he's gonna get out, and he knows what he wants. And that was his way of parenting my son, as mortified as I was. And Jordan's like, oh, it worked. It was like a scared straight moment, it worked. But it made me think a little bit deeper about I really shouldn't be upset with him, this is how he was raised. And there's something in our DNA that makes us maybe today like that. Or maybe, how many of you could say, sometimes I'm a giraffe, and sometimes I have to be that mama bear. Or sometimes I have to be, sometimes I have to be the lion. And that's okay. All right, y'all, so I am an athletic parent. And I'm gonna tell you some stories that I'm not so proud of. But I'm gonna show you this first for some comic relief.
Aww.
Girl, and she's tall.
Volleyball? Basketball?
I mean, she wasn't just born.
Oh, she just kicked.
Ooh, soccer! Did you see little Hannah's already walking?
Yeah, her mom has her in movement classes.
Should we be in movement classes?
We need to get her in movement
If
classes.
she doesn't do movement classes, she'll walk late.
Then she'll run late.
Then she won't make the track team.
Google movement classes. All the gymnastics classes are booked.
The wait list is 3 years long.
So we needed to sign up.
Before you were pregnant?
Do you know anyone at the gym?
Why? Do you want me to brag them?
I mean, she needs to refine her motor skills.
Okay, seems normal. Seems like every family would do this for their 2-year-old. To bribe someone to go into a class where they just roll around in their poop-filled underpants.
Do you see her squatting?
She is eating out of a dog bowl.
But that squat.
Form is incredible.
Give her some extra weight. See how she does.
You know they say Olympians squat like that as babies?
An Olympian. She says she wants to try soccer.
I know, but it's too late.
What?
Every team's at tryouts and they want 5 years experience.
It's a team for 4-year-olds.
I know, we're so behind.
Honey, you're 5. That means it's time to pick a sport.
No more of this waffling, like trying things for
No
fun.
more just running around without kicking
No more
things.
sitting there without catching things.
I saw you going down the slide the other day.
Slides?
I know that was fun.
That's just sitting.
So like, no pressure, but what's it gonna be? Simone Biles did not start gymnastics until she was 6.
Perfect.
She could totally be the next Simone Biles.
Let's watch Simone Biles in the vault. Is she one singular muscle?
Holy
My ACL would be in my stomach.
there would be pee just all over that mat.
You know what? Our daughter's probably too tall for gymnastics.
Yeah, she's too tall.
That's why.
That's it. That's the only reason.
Her teacher says she won a contest in PE today.
What?
Hanging from a bar the longest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that a sport?
I don't think so.
Why not?
It's not very fun to
But
watch.
she's the best at hanging.
She is.
Let's Google hanging classes.
Okay, honey, while we wait for you to pick a sport,
Let's try cup stacking.
yeah, it's so much fun. It's a great way to learn coordination.
You take these cups,
And you stack them.
and we can enter you in international tournaments.
Look it up. Oh, sweetie, why are you crying?
No, hand-eye coordination is fun.
You can do this.
Honey, she just hit a tennis ball over the net.
What?
She's a natural.
We need to join a tennis club.
She's gonna be the next Serena.
Hi, I'd like to join your tennis club.
That sounds super affordable.
Not at all.
Hey, I'm gonna go watch your tennis clinic.
You're going to watch the clinic?
Yeah, to see who wins.
You know they're not even keeping score yet.
Yeah, but I'll know who wins.
Can I come?
Let's go.
Okay.
Hey, she's getting pretty
You
good.
know, maybe we put her in a tournament.
I don't know, you ever see those tennis parents?
They are real intense.
That'll never be us though.
We'll be the nice parents.
We'll be so chill.
Are you freaking kidding me?
That ball was in by a foot.
How can you call that out?
Tell your mom you need glasses.
Your parents raised a liar.
Blind liar.
Liar.
Oh, you wanna quit tennis?
Because we screamed all the time and embarrassed you?
So you wanna try something new?
You want to try poetry?
Like Amanda Gorman.
Yes. Let's get you poetry lessons.
I'll bet you'll be winning awards in no time.
Do they have college poetry teams?
Google it.
Whenever you're ready. So are we really like that?
Aww.
I don't know. But it's funny, and we've all seen parents that might go a little nuts at times. I'm gonna show you one more.
My footsteps. And that dream came true when Jack came home and said this.
I made the football team.
What? I finally have a real son! I finally have a real son! Wow, that was unbelievable! Play that back.
Yeah, we gotta see that again. He sees his man, and look how fast he stops feeding that baby. Boy, he does not give a damn.
No, sir. And can we just talk about this guy's footwork? The way he accelerates through the gap, blowing right past whoever that other kid is. He does not love him as much. And check this out. There's not one, not two, but 3 points of contact with his son.
I'll tell you what, that kid's gonna feel that tomorrow, and maybe for the rest of his life.
Real son, I'm gonna buy you a car. My footsteps. And
Okay. So those are funny, right? But how are we really as parents of athletes? This is my husband and my son. See the resemblance? Not with my husband, but with him. Right? This is usually us at some point of the match. Right? We function from love, compassion, and quite honestly, fear. I tell when I teach my students, when your mom and dad or aunt or uncle or grandma and grandpa, whoever is raising you, is saying, where are you going and what time are you going to be home? It's because we literally will die for you. It's because we love you. We want you to be safe. We want you to be successful. And if we could do it for you, we would. Right? I can remember that first science project, which, oh my God, kindergarten science project should not even be allowed. But where I was like trying to help my son and he like moved my hand. I was like, I want to do it. And I was like, in my mind, he's going to be the kid with like the horrific presentation. And my husband was like, so what? He's going to be the kid that actually did it. And I was like, oh, fair. I don't need to do kindergarten science. So we do have this idea, like when my son comes home from school, sometimes I'm like, who did you eat lunch with? The youngest one. He's like, by myself. I need that time to be by myself and then I go socialize. And I'm like, really? So he always tells me, like, don't go ask kids if they're okay when they're sitting by themselves eating lunch. Ask after. Or like, ask how they're doing, because sometimes we just want that alone time. But we're like functioning from like this, we just want to protect you. So let me tell a couple stories. This is Jordan now. This is the one who cried for everything. This is, Jordan did not always look like this. Jordan was very skinny. You go away to college, when you play sports in college, you come back and you look different. He was making his plate right before I took him to college, or took him back to school, and I was like, who are you feeding? Like the plate was like heaping. Jordan started, I have all these pictures of the twins, because they're twins, playing like trying out sports, right? Like one is sitting on the ground at t-ball, like picking grass. The other one's like spinning. I'm like, baseball's definitely not gonna be it. They tried basketball, didn't love it. Soccer seemed to stick. Like Jordan loved soccer. I mean, he's still, like Chelsea is his team. His other brother's team is like Man U, like they argue. They love it. He became really good, and so we forked up some money for some travel teams. Why not? We want him to have the best, and I'm not against that. Then we took him to Ghana. It's a rule in my house that everyone has to go to the continent one time before they leave our house. So the twins have gone, the little one will go, he's not little, he's taller than me and wears a 12.5, but the youngest will go as well. He played soccer on the beach. They prayed before and after. They were laughing and knocking folks over, and like, he just loved it even more. He was like, it's just like in my bones. Jordan suffers 2 concussions. His doctor tells him, if you take 1 more, you're done. So in between all this, we're trying to find teams that he's likes. So we're with the Clippers for a while. That seems to go well. Everyone's like, no, if you want to go somewhere, he has to play Bay Oaks. So we're like, fine, we'll move him to Bay Oaks. Bay Oaks has more kids, more levels of teams. So he gets on like the B team. So I'm like, well, he deserves the A team, like as much as I'm paying. That's not how it works. And he got like less playing time. And he was not happy. So I would just sit on the side, and I was mad, reading my sports psych books, by the way, because I was in my master's program for that. And he just didn't seem happy. Then he got a new coach, and he loved his coach. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, you can't play for the coach. You have to play because you love the sport, regardless of how you feel about the coach. He didn't love it so much, so then we switched them back. Right, so now we're on like our 3rd or 4th club team, back to the old one. They had done some changes. So now he's on this other team. He starts high school, you know, ask your ADs, and you guys probably know better than I know. There's all these rules about when you play club, when you can play high school, all that kind of stuff. He gets another concussion, like a bad one, and we take him to the hospital, and they do his scan and everything. They ask him to go out the room. My husband is working on his computer in the room. I'm like, figuring out what we're gonna have for dinner. And then they're like, I need you to put everything away, like this is serious. Your son has a large cyst on his brain. And so my husband closes his computer and goes, so you have like prednisone or something you can give him for that, right? They're like, no, he has to have surgery. He has to have brain surgery. And I like, just whoosh. Not only does he have to have brain surgery, but he has to stop playing soccer. And I'm like, who's telling him? Like, who's this, like, everything's going through my mind. How am I gonna tell him he can't play the sport he loves anymore that he was already getting recruiting letters for? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna say? Now, I have trained for this. I help coach injured athletes who might not play their sport again, but I can't bear to tell my son. So my husband's like, well, let's not tell him yet. I'm like, what? We gotta tell him everything at the same time because I don't want him to get better, and then this. So we tell him everything. Of course he cries. He has the surgery. It is successful. His minute he gets back to campus, his coach walks him to the track coach and says, he was our wing. He's really fast. I bet you he'll do well in track. Jordan has a straight up attitude. He's like walking over. I was like, boy, if you don't fix your face and get right for this coach. First track meet, he's like totally throwing a fit. I'm embarrassed. I'm working at the school by this point. And I'm like, he is such a, like, when I get my hands on him, he ends up running like a killer 400. He surprises himself. Senior season comes, end of junior, pandemic hits. Beginning of senior season. They're about to have this amazing 4x4 team, 4x1 team. Letters stop coming. He doesn't get his full season, and he is like a mess. So I've always been like, Jordan, you had brain surgery and survived. You can do anything. And he's like, don't come at me with that brain surgery mess. Like, this is my future. So we start telling him, you have to start looking at all kinds of schools, not just the D1s, because the D1 letters have stopped coming. He had one at this point now. So we go visit that school, and he's like, yeah, that's where I want to go. I'm like, they don't even have your major. Like, why would you want to go there? It's D1. Then we start visiting a lot of other schools, and we end up at Chapman. He loves the coach. He loves the school. He loves the size. They have his major. He signs at Chapman. He's now a junior, and he is so happy. My husband coached him at one time, too, for soccer. That was not good. I asked Jordan, I said, do you hear us when we scream on the side? He said, no. Now, that was when I didn't know that Jordan had partial hearing loss from the cyst on his brain, which clearly served him well from when we were screaming at him on the sides. And he was like, stop doing that, right? And I remember my husband one time getting really upset with the ref. And I was like, oh, you're gonna get ejected. Like, this is ridiculous. And my husband turned to me and he was like, I only get upset when our kids are about to get hurt. I don't care if they win or lose. I care that, like, they're not having calls called. And I was like, it's a contact sport. I don't know what to tell you. So we come from different ways. Like, I got mad when he didn't get playing time. Dwayne gets mad if, like, they're not keeping the kids safe. I guess I should care about that too, and I do. But it's been my message has been such a journey. And it never at any point did I think he'd get concussed, that he would end up in the hospital for brain surgery, or that he'd end up as a track athlete in college. This is his twin, my art child. Justin is a killer basketball player, surprisingly. Justin would be playing basketball at practice and the coach would just drool. Justin can hit a three from almost anywhere. Justin would get in the game and was a deer in headlights. My husband would be like, I can't watch this. I cannot watch this. Like, where's he throwing the ball to? Like, this is embarrassing. I'm done. Justin has a visual and verbal processing disorder. We didn't know that. And the coach would just scream at him like, what? I don't know how else to help you. We're going over the plays. You're memorizing the plays. You get in, it's just like too much. Not only does he have that, and he speaks about this publicly, he has generalized anxiety disorder and obsessive compulsive disorder with intrusive bad thoughts. It's a big cluster of stuff. We sent Justin to Oakland School for the Arts because he has such a gift for performing and writing. He used that to process so much of the stuff going on. He was not the most easiest kid to parent. He stayed in the principal's office, like lived in it. My husband, I told the teacher, don't call me anymore, call my husband. I'm gonna get him when he gets home, like right now. Like, he's got this sense of justice, so if any other kid was getting in trouble, he wanted to step up. I was like, stop, you already stay in trouble, why are you speaking up for someone else? which isn't bad, but like I was just tired of the phone calls. So he goes to Oakland School for the Arts. He has a teacher tell him, you're probably gonna be better suited in junior college. And of course, you know what I did, I drove up to the school. I was like, who is up here telling my kid this? Like, let him decide what he wants to do. If he's gonna end up in junior college, that's fine, but let him make the choice. This child is at NYU. He got into the Clive Davis School of Recording Music, 12% acceptance rate. He's a signed recording artist, and he's in Berlin right now, day 2. I cried all day on Sunday. He's like living his life and made the dean's list. Like this was the kid who we were like, see me, free me, just like, come on. He is thriving at NYU. He found his people. He found what works. He wanted to be a basketball player. And we wanted that for him too. So what does parental support look like to you? Turn to another partner and talk about what does it, that's me, obviously. What does it look like to you? Turn and talk. Thank your partner. I always forget to do that. Thank your partner. All right. What came up? What does it look like? I didn't hear. Oh, no, maybe nothing. Okay. Yes.
We echoed what you said, that stories and paths change, and just to stay flexible in your parenting with that.
And we were not made to be flexible parents. Right? Like, it's like, you want to do what? Like, what else? The flexibility. Let them play. Oof, that's a hard one sometimes, huh?
Very hard. We were just all talking. We all pushed our daughters to soccer.
I remember one of the twins like talking back to my husband when he was coaching, and he like benched him immediately. I was like, "All 5 of the kids talk back to you. They still playing." That's my son. He needs to know better. I'm like, okay. All right. So let him play, even when you're like, this is not their sport. Right? What else?
I also think letting them handle conflict, but when it's needed and when they ask for you to speak up on their behalf, that you have to ask them what direction they want to go in.
Right? So they're a big part of the process. And I remember that being really difficult for me as my son entered high school. I was like, well, I'm just going to go tell the coach. And he's like, no, you're not. No, you're not. Don't do that. Don't do that. And my husband was like, please don't do that. Let's let him try it first. And then let's coach him. And then if we need to. I am not patient, especially when it comes to my kids. So, here's some tips. Some of you guys have said some of the stuff. We already do the number one. As much as it pains us at times. We have a therapy jar in my house. And when they get mad at me, I say, put $1 in it. I'm already paying for therapy. Go ahead. I know I messed you up somewhere. It's fine. But love them unconditionally. Accept that they cannot win every time they compete. That's hard too. Right? Because all we want is, we want our kids to be happy. But what does that look like? Turn off as a sporting parent. Don't make sport the one and only topic of conversation at the dinner table or in the car. Every time I used to pick up Jordan from soccer, how's practice? What position did you play today? Did you do this? Did you do that? And he's like, I don't want to talk about it. But he had a hard time telling me that. Or I'm like, you were supposed to talk to coach today. How'd it go? What did he say? He's like, Dad, help. Make her stop doing this. Don't introduce your child as, this is my son, the swimmer or basketball player. Their sport. It's just something they do. It does not define them. I remember we were looking at high schools. I took the twins to a couple different schools, and we were at one private school, and the AD walked over and said, what sport? No, it wasn't even the AD, it was someone else. He said, what sport do you play? And my son said, I'm really good at math.